Welcome. My name is Susan Francis, and I am the current president of the Tip of Texas Genealogical Society here in Harlingen, Texas. We are going to present a program this morning about Genealogy 101. I'd like to thank the Harlingen Public Library for hosting this program. So let's get started. Genealogy 101. It's no wonder that genealogy research has become one of America's favorite pastimes. Studying and learning about your family is fascinating. Hearing the stories and learning the family names are lots of fun for a lot of people, obviously, since genealogy has become so popular. Where to begin? If you're new to genealogy research, I think this program will help you get started. First, start with what you know. Get names and birth and marriage and death, if applicable, dates and places for your immediate family members. Talk to your parents, aunts, uncles, and grandparents to record information they know about their parents, siblings, grandparents, etc. Often, the oldest sibling in the family group knows the most about the family, so be sure to seek them out. Enter the information you acquire on an ancestral chart. There are plenty of free ancestral charts available. You can download them. One of them can be found at familysearch.org, and later in this program, you'll see how to find that. So you're going to want to enter your information on an ancestral chart. Start with yourself. Then you'll enter your information about your dad and your granddad, your mom, and your maternal grandparents. Always on a chart, the male line goes up and the female line goes down. So I've indicated that in red. I'm female, I'm red. So my mom, then my maternal grandmother, but then I put my maternal grandfather in blue because that line now will go up. My dad is at the top. He would be number 2. And then my paternal granddaddy would be next. And then my paternal, grandmother's line is in red, and that would start going down again on the chart. Always identify your females by their maiden names and not by their married names. So back to this chart, my name and then my father's name, but my mother would not be, her last name would not be what it would be today, but her maiden name, which the name she was born with. So that's one tip that you need to remember. Once you start getting this information, you're going to want to record it in some kind of fashion. And most people who are using a computer are going to want to find some kind of genealogy software. There's a lot of good genealogy software out there. You might Google to see the pros and cons and what suits your needs the best. Some of them might be more expensive than others. I think all of them probably cost something to begin with. So just check it out. I've listed here a few of the available genealogy software packages, some of the ones that seem to be the most popular. Here's a tip that I learned the hard way. When you start entering your information, capitalize the first name of your direct ancestor. And I say that because if you look over to the left of my screen on this chart, you will see I have a lot of people with the last name Brubaker. And as you start doing your research, you're going to have a lot of people with the same last name. And it's really easy when you're getting to your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents and you see all of these siblings to forget which one is the one that is your direct ancestor, and you can kind of get lost in the chart. So I've indicated my direct ancestors, the one in the sibling group that I am directly related to, who would be my great-grandparent or my great-great-grandparent, by putting their first name in capital letters. It just makes it a little easier. So now that you have started recording facts, where to find more information after you've gotten the information that you can from your family members. One great website to start is familysearch.org. It is a free website. You do not have to pay for a subscription to it, and it just gets better every day. The website is familysearch.org. When you go there, you will need to create an account. It's free. You have to choose a username and a password, but that's the way to get the most out of this resource. Try this first. When you go to Family Search, under the search menu, choose Family Tree. That is a worldwide family tree. And if you can find someone in your family on it, that means people have already been researching your family, and there's going to be a lot of information on there already for you. It may go way up the line, way past what you know about your family. It may not all be correct, but the nice thing about this family tree feature is that a lot of people have added documentation and proofs to it that you may not have access to, and you can add information to it. And if you see something that's wrong, you can actually add to it or make notes so that it can be corrected. It's a great feature, and it's likely that you're going to find some tree of your family that's already on it. Another feature of Family Search is the records search button. You can go to, you can pick the place in the world that you want to research. I have clicked on the United States, and then you can choose the state that you want to research. I went ahead and chose Texas, since we're here in Texas. And when you get to the first picture, when you click Texas, this is what you're going to see. But if you will, if you'll go on down a little bit, you'll see the show all 131 records. If you'll click that, you're going to see all 131 records. And any record group that has the camera icon by it means that you can see the actual document. You can save it, you can download it, you can print it. So for instance, Texas has death certificates up to the 1980s, I believe, that you can actually see the death certificate and you can print it out for deceased members of your family. A lot of records in Family Search that they've already photographed the actual record and have it available for you to download or print out. There are also, when you go to the records there under search, there are also genealogies. And you can look at these. These are family trees that have been submitted to Family Search. They cannot be changed. It's somebody else's family tree, and they vary in accuracy. You can't just count on them being absolutely correct. Don't do that. You can make a lot of mistakes in your genealogy. But a lot of times they are correct and they can give you some good hints. Then there is the FamilySearch.org Research Wiki. It's something that is collaborative. Here you can find more than 93,000 research articles. They're about a variety of topics: places, counties, people, groups, church, religious groups, just about anything you can think of. For example, I'm going to give you some information about a county or our country, but this is a county in Texas. So I have written in here, I have chosen to, well, when you go to read the wiki, when you click it on, this is what you're going to see, the screen. Then I typed in Leon County, Texas genealogy. And this is the screen that I see. If you scroll down, you're going to see the rest of this. It shows you all of the records that are available at FamilySearch.org regarding Leon County. And then as you see up here, it shows you where it is in Texas, where Texas is in the United States. So go on down. At the very bottom, it's going to show you some statistics about Leon County, the county clerk, the district clerk, history, etc. Here's another example. Say you're looking for forms. So you go to the wiki and you type in forms. Then if you look at the bottom where the blue arrow is, you'll see genealogy research forms. That's where you can find ancestral charts, all kinds of helpful genealogy forms. There's just so much available. It's all free. It's all downloadable, printable. It's a great resource. Another resource is census records. Of course, the United States became a country when we won the American Revolution in 1783. We began recording census records in 1790. That would be the first census records, national census records that we have. And after that, we took a census every 10 years. Now, from 1790 to 1840, the only thing you're going to find in the census is a head of household name. Everybody else is categorized by sex and age range, but you're not going to see the names in the household. But the name of the household, head of the household, will be there, whether it be female or male. You will find that. And then starting in 1850, it starts naming every person in the household. That does not prove relationship because it does not say what the relationship is. So you can't count on the fact that somebody with the same last name in that household is a parent or a child. It could be a niece or a nephew or a grandparent or a mother-in-law. So from 1850, 1860, and 1870, you have every person in the household at the time that the census was recorded or taken by name. But you do not have the relationship to the head of the household. Starting in 1880, it gives that. And so from 1880 on, you have the relationship also. Every decade, they chose to ask some questions that might not have been asked before or after. So you have to look at the questions. You can find out a lot of information from the census records. Sometimes you can find out when whether the person immigrated to the United States, and if so, when. Actually, we all immigrated at some point, except for the American Indians. So you might find out when they came here. You're going to find out where they were born, what state or country, where their parents were born. And in 1900, they asked what month they were born in. Sometimes you'll find out when they were married. there's just a lot of good information that you can find out about your ancestors. There also are mortality censuses for 1850, 1860, 1870, and 1880. And if you had a family member who died within 1 year from the date the census was taken, then that person probably will show up in the mortality census. Then there are state census records, but you can't count that they had them every 10 years or every 5 years, and not all states took them. But it's worth it to find out if there are state census records. They often ask different questions so you can find out even more information. There are lots of forms. One thing I suggest is to track your research so that you don't end up looking for something twice. Plus, if you research it and you track it, then when you go back to find it, you'll be able to see where you found it before if you don't remember that. And once you get started with the genealogy research, you're going to find out so much that it's easy to forget where you found records. Here's another information record. This is a family group record. All of these forms can be found under the FamilySearch.org wiki website. Ancestry.com, you've probably seen commercials on TV about Ancestry.com. It's a great website. It's one of the favorites for genealogy. It has a lot of free things on it, but it does require a subscription for other information. And so you can subscribe by the year or by the month, and you can ask for a national subscription or a subscription for a little bigger price that is international as well. So I already told you it's a paid, Ancestry.com is a paid subscriber website, but does offer a number of free data collections. Subscribers can create or upload their family tree to Ancestry.com, and then it has a search engine that searches for hints or more information. And so the little leaves that you see, the little green leaves, indicate that for these ancestors, Ancestry has found some information that might be applicable to these ancestors. There are so many good resources for genealogical information, and every day more of them are coming available online. But don't just rely on the internet. This library, the Harlingen Public Library, has a genealogy bay with many genealogy books. It has records, it has how-to books, journals, family records, local genealogies. It's a wonderful resource. And some of this information can only be found in a library at this point. Also, genealogical societies are wonderful ways to find information and get help when you come up against a brick wall or a stumbling block. We have the Rio Grande Valley Hispanic Genealogical Society. It meets, usually meets the third Sunday of the month at 1:30 at the Harlingen Arts and Heritage Museum. And then our Tip of Texas Genealogical Society meets the third and fourth Thursday at 10 o'clock a.m. at the Harlingen Public Library, right here in Harlingen. Most months, we meet at least the third Thursday, and then pretty much September through May, except for December, we meet also the fourth Thursday. Military records can be found online. Pension files often have affidavits and other information proving family history and relationship. Deeds and land records often show names and relationships and where your family resided or the family farm was. Wills are great information resources, newspaper articles, county histories, published family histories. Use these with caution. A lot of it's true, but sometimes it might be family myth. And it depends on whether it was written by somebody who would have had actual knowledge or not. If I tell you in a family history about my parents and my grandparents, well, I should know they're my parents and my grandparents. But if I tell you that I'm related to Queen Elizabeth I of England, and I start telling you stories about her, I have no firsthand information about that, and I'm not actually related to her, but that's just an example. That's not a good resource for information because I would have no firsthand information, knowledge about that. So, and also family histories need to be well sourced if they're accounting for information that the author has no firsthand knowledge of. Excuse me. Church records are wonderful ways to find out information about your family, especially if you can't find a birth record or a death record. Often the church records will have that. And if that particular church practiced infant baptism, those records will tell when the infant was born and who the parents are usually. Vital records, birth, marriage, and death records are pretty much inventions of the 1900s. Most of those records started being kept around the first of the century in 1900. Some of them before in different states, and some of them a little after. But those are fairly recent. Usually you're not going to find death records or a death certificate or a birth certificate or a marriage certificate for like a great-grandparent or earlier. And then cemetery records and headstones are great sources of information. The Rio Grande Valley Hispanic Genealogical Society publishes an annual journal that has good information. Our society publishes a quarterly newspaper with information. Our members receive this via email, and some of the archived records can be found online. Our library has, as I said, lots of good information, including how-to books, so that you can come and read more about how to get started with your family research. Then there are journals, newspapers, magazines, and quarterlies that tell you information. Many of them are online and searchable, and lots of them have published lists and records of naturalizations, homestead applications, baptisms. You just never know what you're going to find. People will find in their attic old letters and transcribe them. And some of these old letters can tell lots of information about family life, give you information about family members. Just never know what you're going to find. Our library has many quarterlies of several genealogical societies. This is just one genealogy magazine that I enjoy. It's the Family Tree magazine. Nowadays, you have podcasts and blogs, and they're full of helpful information. A podcast is a digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or mobile device. Typically, it's available in a series, has new installments, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly. Usually it's free. You might have to subscribe, but usually it's free. And then you've got a blog. which is a written account. Sometimes these podcasts will refer you to written records and forms that can be that are referenced in the podcast. Some of the podcasts that I have enjoyed are Research Like a Pro, Generations Cafe, the Family Tree podcasts, and Genealogy Guys. But there are lots more, and they're fun to listen to. So a blog is a regularly updated website or web page, typically one run by an individual or a small group that is written in an informal or conversational style. Dick Eastman's online genealogical or genealogy newsletter is one. The Genetic Genealogist is another, and the Genealogue is another. You can Google genealogy blogs for more. And then if you Google for helpful information or resources online, you'll find lots. cindyslist.com is a free list of genealogy websites. You can search it for locations, names, just whatever. Google search is another one. RootsWeb is free. Findagrave.com is free. A lot of headstones and cemetery records are transcribed and posted on findagrave.com. Newspaperarchive.com is a subscription website, but it also gives a lot of old newspaper articles, and it's searchable. Genealogybank.com also has a lot of searchable records, including old newspaper records. And then gengophers.com has 80,000 plus genealogy books digitized and available. So, wrapping up, I can't emphasize enough, you need to talk to your grandma if she's still around, or your mom or dad. If you're lucky enough to have a great-grandmother, talk to her, interview family members. Don't just rely on records and the internet. You'll get lots of good stories and find out some fun information about your family. There are lots of questions that you need to ask, like, how did your grandparents meet? Do you know that? You might want to know sometime. How long did they know each other before they got married? Where did they travel to? There are prepared interview formats for you to find online so that you can actually have a list of questions to ask. Do find out from your parents and your family members the family stories before it's too late. I will tell you that most genealogists will say, I could kick myself for not listening to my grandmother's stories more closely. So go ahead and do that. Talk to your family members. If you have a family reunion, make sure you get those questions asked. I hope you've enjoyed this, and come back. We will be publishing some more programs for wannabe genealogists. Thank you, and happy researching.